go.
We did it. We're here.
That was so fun. I'm like, I've never had an intro before. Here I am. I'm grabbing my phone. I'm like, I need to let Nana know. And then I'm like, no, he can find us.
Oh my goodness. Well, hello, Kerri.
Hello, Miss Michelle, and hello for anybody who comes back to watch us. We are super excited to be here.
Yes, and it is stripped down healing from illusion.
What does that mean to you? I'm
Oh,
curious.
you asked me quicker than I could ask you.
Well, I'll answer first because I was thinking about this because yesterday I had a stripped down moment myself
Mhm.
while working with my coach. But
Mhm.
stripped down is really getting curious about our beliefs, our habits, right? Examining them and then shedding them, any ones that don't serve us. And I think from my experience alone, you have to shed those beliefs, those habits a lot before you no longer having an emotional attachment to them. So that is my understanding of stripping down and then healing from the bullshit narrative that all of us have been conditioned by.
Yes. So, and I think that that's why, and I know that that is why we came together and we were meant to do this, because for me, it's exactly the same. It's stripping down and getting, you know, let me digress for a moment. One coach told me that going into a void moment, going to the void, your void, was like dark and just scary and a meat hook moment. And you're going to like hang out there and feel the feelings and process. And, that was shadow work, just very dark and deep and scary, which was enticing to me. And then I have
Because
another,
let's feel like total crap and dive in. Yep, no worries.
and then the other side, another coach was like, no, the void is the moment of being, right? Being in the moment and responding from that moment of time, not from the past and bringing the past, like you said, bullshit. Excuse me, no kids allowed on the show, by the way. And healing from the bullshit, and also not bringing the future into it, which creates the anxiety, which you and I have talked about. And so stripping down for me is about being in that moment, right? The right now, the here and now, and healing, allowing the healing to occur, allowing whatever the light, the dark that needs to come up, but the light to come in, and just remember who the F you are.
Yeah. Well, who the fuck are you, right? Like, sorry, but you said
Who
no
the
kids, and
fuck
I
am I?
swear. So, um, no, but seriously, and that's the reality is if you really think about it, we don't know. We still don't know. I mean, I know more of the version of who I am today than I did even a month ago, 2 years ago, but it's a constant evolution, and you don't start to understand that version of yourself until you get curious and you sit in that quote unquote void or that
Mhm.
place.
Right.
And so you're never going to be able to learn and experience what brings you joy, what fills your
Mhm.
cup, how you see yourself, how you identify outside of other people's societal family expectations if you don't start to get curious and strip down and sit
Yeah.
with it, whatever that looks like.
That's an interesting place to go, because how many different sides of us are there? And does everyone know all those sides? Or are we different people to different, are we different for different people? So, I do my show on Fridays, and I don't use the word fuck, but can I tell you, everyone, that is my most favorite word, and I have to hold it back. But there's different, right? There's different sides of us that we show at different times, and I think that's
I'm not sure if you froze or I froze, but I'm going to go with maybe you froze. And what I'm going to say to different sides of us at different times, that works for a lot of people. And I always honor where people are at in any given moment. For me, I show my full side unapologetically no matter where I'm at. And that is true. And the reason why is because I spent a ton of time showing up as a person I thought I needed to be versus who I actually am. And so where you jumped off, Michelle, I was just saying I think for a lot of people, showing different sides, depending
Mhm.
on the environment they're in, who they're connecting with, and all of that works. And if that works for them, cool. For me, it doesn't. It just, I have to be 100% me no matter what. And so much so that, like, my 15 and 14-year-old kids, I swear, they swear that's real. People could judge that, but it's who I am, and I'm not gonna be a hypocrite and say, sorry, I just dropped the F-bomb, but you're not allowed. My kids, see me very playful and joyful with my significant other. So there's really no time that I am not showing up myself, and I think that's really important in terms of coming back to the space of strip down healing from the illusion, right? Because part of the illusion is that we have to show up a specific way to be accepted by the world. That's part of the illusion, that we have to play small, minimize, or act quote unquote appropriate to be considered, successful, professional, a good
Right.
parent. And that's the illusion. That's bullshit. I'm an
Yeah.
amazing parent. And I swear, I'm an amazing parent. And my kids and I talk about sex. I'm an amazing coach. And I'm covered with tattoos. Don't wear a bra, wear leggings and love skulls, right? But the reality is with that stripped down
Mhm.
perspective comes the reality that you will be rejected, right? That you will
Mhm.
be
And that's a fear.
judged. And that is something I'm okay with. That's not something everybody's okay with. And that took a really long time for me to get to. And I think wherever anybody is at in their journey is
Mhm.
exactly where they're supposed to be. And that's good. I'm glad for them.
Right. And I agree with you. And I think that, I tried to, when the kids were growing up, I tried to fit in with my daughter and joining Girl Scouts. And listen, I love Girl Scouts. I'm not saying anything bad about Girl Scouts. However, when we got there and they were teaching the girls to make beaded bracelets instead of how to survive out in the wilderness, which the Boy Scouts were learning, it pissed me off. And I voiced that. And then at some point I was, and then they were, it felt like a what not shading them, not shaming them, but it is shaming them, when you're new. Anyway, they did this thing where they brought you up on stage if you forgot something behind. And it was embarrassing. And then they made them sing like a silly song. And I called my husband, I remember, and I was like, get me out of here. I don't want to, I got to get me and my daughter out of here. Like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm crying to escape a Girl Scout camp. It's just like, what am I doing? And why was I trying to force us into this stereotypical way to be, as far as parenting and what girls are supposed to do or what boys are supposed to do? And it just felt so wrong. So wrong.
Well,
The Girl Scout cookies are really good though.
the Girl Scout cookies are great. I actually had a very similar experience. I was put in Girl Scouts, and the first time I went, they were teaching me how to do makeup. And I mean, I was just like, well, this ain't for me. And it's not that I don't like to put on a good face, but I'm also very comfortable with who I am and I don't need makeup. And I just felt like it just didn't align with me. But something you said really was interesting, and it didn't feel right. And I want to touch upon that because that goes
Mhm.
to stripping down, healing from
Yeah.
the illusion. I just had this conversation with two of my clients today. If it does not feel good and it does not serve you, you do not have to have a reason. You do not have to deep dive into your psyche to figure out why it is that situation doesn't feel right for you or why it is. All you have to do is give yourself permission to
Mhm.
leave or to, voice how you're
Yes.
feeling. I think so often I see my clients get hung up in, the going down the rabbit hole of
Mhm.
why. And I get it. Sometimes you
Yeah.
do want to understand why. However, our logic is what prevents us from being in the present moment, to what you were saying earlier, and sitting in peace. So
Mhm.
instead of me walking into a room and feeling an energy that's off and then going, well, why? Is it because I'm feeling insecure about all this? Or is it, no, I'm going to get my happy ass out of the room. And guess what? Now I'm not around that energy and now I'm at peace. That's all I have to
Right.
do.
And then you can ask the questions after the fact just so that you know, so that you're
Yes.
aware, because I think acknowledging and knowing where you're at is really important. Like, why is that? Why am I trying to fit in? Why am I trying to people please? Haha, big one. Why am I trying to do anything if it doesn't feel natural? And
Yeah.
I know that that's been a big journey for me, is trusting my intuition, trusting what my body's telling me, trusting what my heart is telling me, my soul, my spirit. Am I lighter, am I heavier? I was talking to somebody the other night, and maybe it is now too, I don't know. And I like flushed, like I got all red. Um and it's, is it passion, is it and I mean, being passionate about something, is it passionate about being, talking about something, or is it that it didn't feel right?
Yeah.
So you just, you don't know, but you have to tune in, because if you're not tuning in, you're missing out on all of the subtle cues and nudges from spirit, divine, whatever the flavor is for whoever's watching, for each of us. It's those nudges, it's those little hints, just like we got when we started talking.
Yeah, so let's go there. So for anybody who's watching, if you guys have any questions or any comments about, what strip down means or what it means to you, if you want to share, we'd love to hear from you. But I'm curious, for the audience and for myself, and I kind of have a little bit of understanding. What led you on
Mhm.
your strip down journey to kind of start to
Mm.
shed the beliefs and the expectations you believed you had to adhere
Right.
um to then help you become who you are becoming now?
There was a pivotal moment where I was in corporate America, and I had a toxic, narcissistic, sociopath boss that I called the devil's mistress. That's what it was. I tried to conform to be what they wanted me to be in that role. And I did it for 2 years. I was there for 10, but the last 2 is when I tried to conform. And when I was done and committed career suicide, and I would do it all again, I won't hold back on that. It was all for the right reasons, and I did it from a place of love, not from fear. Um, I had to look at myself and say, why? Why did I allow her opinion of me to matter more than my opinion of me? Why did I get sucked into, I need to be promoted? I promoted myself out of a job, basically.
Mhm.
Why? Why? Why did I get greedy? Why did I allow myself to get sucked into the machine? And how do I stop that from ever happening again? And that was a big thing. Why was it so important to be not approved, but accepted into a group of people that absolutely did not like me from day one. And that went on for 10 years. Why? And I can remember all of the conversations and the hours I would come home and go, I just don't understand. Why was it so important? And look how much time I spent on that when I could have been spending with either my family or myself, growing and expanding in my own journey. And so that, my husband, after that happened, and he finally got me to get out of bed, because you get depressed after that, you lose your identity. It was, we're going to start a nursery, so I want you to go outside, and I need you to start doing this. And I was back in nature. I was able to ground. And then when I started thinking quietly to myself while I was doing all of that, I realized that everything I wanted had just happened. I manifested my dogs at my feet, a desk at my house, walking to work instead of getting in a car. Everything I sat at that job and wanted happened.
Yeah.
So who am I to judge how it happened, at how it got me there, because I got the outcome I wanted.
And it's put you in a place where you come from curiosity now, right? And you continue to break through and break down those beliefs. And I think for anybody listening, this is critical to hear, guys.
Mhm.
We as coaches don't have it figured out. Like we were talking about it, you had an existential crisis last week. Yesterday I was definitely going through my own stuff. It's more that we continuously get curious about why it is we're experiencing what we're experiencing in any given moment. And what that means is just our feelings, our reactions, our
Mhm.
responses to things. Instead of just skirting over them, we start to just get curious. Oh, why did I do that? Or what do I need to do right now to take care of myself? Which is a
Mhm.
more important question, because that's all you can do is nurture
Right.
yourself. And then in doing so, it gives us insight and the ability to then support others, right?
Right. Right.
Or
And,
that's
and
what I
heal.
believe.
Right.
Yeah.
And heal that illusion, heal from the illusion, heal the illusion of where we thought we should be, because there's grieving that goes along with that too. And people forget about that all the time. Grieving
Yeah.
does not have to be over a death or a transition of life. It is going to be about what you thought life might look like when
Yep.
you turned whatever age we might be. Uh, I'm in the 50 fun stage. I'll put it
44
out
in
there.
May. I love it. I love being in my 40s.
And I love being in my 50s. I think it is the best time of my life. But then I talk to some people and they're like, "Oh, I'm so old." Okay. Is your body, does my knee creak a little bit sometimes? Yeah, but I don't focus on it. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of, are we supposed to? It's like when we all get together and we all start talking about what medications we're taking. Like, it drives me crazy. Oh, did your doctor put you on the blood pressure pill? To freaking talk about that. I just want to be fun. I just want to have fun. Like, I just want to have fun. I'm in my 50s. I'm not dead, and I'm sure there's going to be fun when we transition, but I don't want to talk about that stuff. I want to talk about this stuff. Like, I want to talk about the
Well,
cool
I mean,
stuff. And I want to strip down. I want to strip all this shit down to get to the core and the authentic person, people we are.
yeah. Yep. Which changes in any given moment. I was talking to your
Mhm.
daughter, who happens to be our amazing producer, by the way, guys. So anybody who likes
Yes.
the background and the intro, shout out to Krista, because I know I didn't make it. But anyway, I was talking to her yesterday, going back and forth about business stuff, and I'm like, I'm cranky. Like, I need to check out, because in this moment, I'm being total bitch face to somebody, and I don't want to
Mhm.
do that. So I'm just gonna not be, and that's okay. And I think that's the other thing is authenticity is who you are in this moment. It doesn't mean you're always going to be soft and fluffy or any or super thoughtful and kind. It's the experience, the feelings, the thoughts that come up in this moment. That is authenticity. And then expressing it without judging, which I still struggle with. That's where I
Mhm.
struggled with yesterday, right? So the work that I was doing was I was
Judging.
telling my coach, I'm getting my period. I'm really bitchy and I don't want to be bitchy. And he challenged me. He's like, so basically you're judging a part of who you are, right?
Mhm.
Then sent me in this whole vortex of thinking, but essentially it stemmed from me still having some part of me who thinks that if I show up other than super kind and compassionate and joyful and all that, I'm bad, which is
Right.
bullshit. I get to be cranky. I get to be irritated that my hormones are going, "Blah, blah, blah, blah," and
Right.
I can't control it for 5 to 7 days, right? And that to me is authenticity. And that's also stripping down from who it is we think we need to be in any given moment. And we are all figuring it out. I don't think anybody has it figured out.
And I think that that's the whole purpose of us being here,
Yeah.
right? That the illusion, the people that say that they have it all figured out, they're in the illusion. They're deep in the illusion because
Yeah.
we're not supposed to have it figured out.
Nope.
That's
I
why
agree.
we're here, is to just be on the journey. And I was talking to a friend of yours, and we were talking about the illusion and life and what the experience is. And I shared this with you, and I just think I've been thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about it because I just think it's so fun for those that go on roller coaster rides, right? Especially at Disney. I love Disney. Guardians of the Galaxy. It is one of those rides where every time you go on it, it's going to be a different experience. But here's the thing, we're all in the same line when we go to get on Guardians of the Galaxy. We decide which car we're going to go in, which line we're going to get in. Now, sometimes they kind of usher you or treat you like cattle and herd you into it. You decide which seat you're going to be in, and then it randomly will play different music. So we're all on the same ride. But when we come out the same door, that back door, when we're done, we've all had a very different experience.
Yep.
And so when I thought of life that way, I was like, holy crap, that really is what this experience is. And we get to decide what seat we want to be in. We get to decide what row, what car, what path. We're in control. And the illusion is that we don't have control, but we do have control, but we don't have control over other people. We have control over our emotions, our responses, those types of things. But we're all coming out the same door at the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And, and that's the thing is when you look at society as a whole, we're looking at a world filled with people who are numbing out and medicating, whether it's for high blood pressure because you're quote unquote 50. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be on blood pressure medicine at 50. I just won't. Why? Because um, but medicating out, whether it's to um social media, TV, alcohol and
Right.
drugs, shopping, whatever. And it's simply
Hmm.
because there isn't enough people yet, and I see more and more people stepping into their power, but there's not enough people yet to say I'm no longer subscribing to the idea that I'm only contributing positively to the world if I work a 9 to 5, pay my taxes, buy a house, have 2.5 kids, get married, retire, maybe go on a couple vacations and then croak, and or a
Right.
million other things, right? um
Right.
but that also comes with questioning family beliefs,
Yeah.
questioning the expectations even that your parents, your children, your siblings have of you. One of the greatest sources of grief that I had to
Mhm.
go through was the fact that for the longest time, my twin sister could never tell me she was proud of me. And I would
Mm.
watch her tell me how she was so proud of her best friend and stuff. And, outside of anybody, more than my mother, more than my father, anybody, I wanted
Right.
her approval because we'd gone through the wars together. And when I realized that that probably wasn't going to happen, I mourned. I
Yeah.
really, but then something beautiful came up. I was able to be proud of myself. And once I was
Mhm.
proud of myself, interestingly enough, she randomly shared with me that she was proud of me. So it's also letting go of the expectation
Yeah.
and being okay with what is rather than what we think things need to be.
And trying to force it, because as
Yeah.
soon as you let go, what love when people go, "Just let it go," and you're like, "What the fuck does that even mean?"
Yep.
At least that's how I used to feel, now I get it. But when you keep restricting yourself and you're retracting from something and you're holding back and you're holding on to it for so freaking long, and then you release it, whatever it is going to come back. And it goes back to that old saying that we heard when we were kids: if you truly love something, let it go, and if it comes back, it's truly yours.
Yep.
Everything is connected. And I think that, when you ask me about my journey, and I want to hear, I want you to answer the same question. My biggest aha moment of this journey that I've been on so far, the spiritual aspect of it, is it's all interwoven and connected. It's all the same dang message. It's just put into different packaging for whoever needs to see it that way, to accept it, to absorb it. And when they're ready for it, they'll find, just like, the student's ready for the teacher's ready for the student. When you're ready, it's the same thing. But when I realized, like, law of attraction, course in miracles, all of these things, even those old quotes, Florence Shovel shit, like, all of that stuff is all saying the same things. They're just packaging it different.
Look at Dr. Seuss. If you look at all of his books, be you, love you. But if you, I was, my niece is 6 and my nephew's 9 months, and so I'm revisiting these books, and I'm like, the guy was brilliant. Like, who knew? But right. Um, to answer your question, I think first off, the biggest insight that
Mhm.
I had, particularly because I study quantum physics and theology, and for anybody out there, I've overcome a myriad of addictions. But the biggest insight I had is I am completely perfect and I don't have to do anything. Anything. I could sit my happy butt down and do nothing and still be worthy of love. That's it. Like, that was the biggest insight. And I still struggle with that sometimes because I have an ego and I still have these ideas that I have to produce and all that
Mhm.
that I contend with. Um, but my journey, it's been an evolution really since I was very, very young, and it's come with a lot of trials and tribulations. But I think two pivotal moments. One was the second time that I was raped, and I had like
Yeah.
this like out of body, like I just remember thinking to myself, no way is anybody ever going to wound me this way again.
Mhm.
And then that really forced me to take steps to start my healing journey from drugs. But then fast forward 12 plus years,
Yeah.
my older sister passing away due to addiction, me being in her apartment experiencing the, mess that she left from passing away to drinking. And it was another insight, kind of like a revelation where it's like,
Yeah.
girl, you don't need the world, you don't need to go see another therapist, you don't need to read another theology book, you don't need to study anymore. All you need to do is actually listen to yourself, listen to the emotions when they come up, listen to the tightness in your shoulders when you feel tense, listen to that knot in your throat when I got that,
Mhm.
I understood peace. because
Mhm.
now I'm not seeking external validation. I'm
Right.
not seeking, even from my children, I'm not seeking to show up a specific way or needing, their affirmations. I know from my internal state that I'm showing up the way in which I'm meant to show up. And when you get that,
Yeah.
you really do start to experience joy and peace at a level that no amount of numbing out will ever bring you. None.
Yeah.
And I know because I'm numbed out for many, many years using a lot of different things from drugs, alcohol, work, sex, shopping, and nothing compares to listening to yourself. And you
Yeah.
can't listen to yourself until you start to question every single belief and habit that you've subscribed to, because you couldn't have known better,
Right.
because that's just what we're in. That's like, that is the illusion we're all in, that we have to
Mhm.
then fight with.
And where did those beliefs all come from? They were ingrained in us. We weren't born with them. And I think that, a coach years ago, and by the way, everybody, coaches have coaches. We all need coaches, a mentor, somebody, but good coaches have good coaches. And a few years ago on my coaching journey, I had another coach, and she had shared with me the sun and the little soul. And that was the beginning of my forgiveness journey.
Mm.
That was the beginning of me really understanding that, wait a second, if we're all here playing a part in this show that's being produced by, the one and holy, and everyone has a part to play, we can't learn lessons unless everyone else is playing their part, even the bad ones. And so that was what helped me forgive and thank you for helping me process and be able to say that, yes, there was a rape in my past. That's the first time I've said that.
I
Uh,
know, I'm so
I
proud of
did.
you.
Said it. I said it. I said it. I'll own that
But can
shit.
we touch upon that real quick? Because talk
Sure.
about a shame and guilt story, guys. Like, and again, so what Michelle did that I really want to highlight, and I think it's imperative that people recognize, is our stories create such anxiety, shame, and guilt within our
Mm,
experience. And the only way to really break free from that is to share it with somebody, and or
yeah.
in this case, the show, right? And when you know you're fully healed from something, you no longer have an emotional attachment.
Right.
So for anybody watching, that may take a year, that may take 20, and wherever you're at, it's exactly where you're meant to be. But
Hmm.
eventually, if you continue to get curious about experiences like rape and domestic violence, or whatever experience
Hmm.
you've had, even a divorce within your family when you were young,
Yes.
when you can be open to the emotion that comes up around that,
Right.
often, eventually, it just becomes another part of your story without any emotion to it. And that's when you know you're fully healed.
Yes. And because you can forgive, because that person, whoever that person was and whatever they did to you, I'm not saying that you asked for it, but it's just like when you want an outcome, and you pray or you ask, whatever it is that your process is, you cannot judge how it is given to you and brought to you. I didn't ask for that, but it taught me forgiveness. I didn't ask for the other people in my family that have harmed me in ways, and I'll keep that to myself for now. Uh, but it taught me how to forgive. And I can talk about that without emotion, where before it used to cause big big heavy lumps in my heart and in my gut and in my stomach and enrage me. And now it's like, okay, that happened in chapter 1 and we're like in chapter 112 or whatever. That was then. That's
Yeah.
not now. And it doesn't define you. And I think that's what, sometimes people forget that you're not defined by the things that have happened to you. You're defined by how you've responded and how you've grown from them. And
Mm.
that's so important. So important.
You know, it's interesting because I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday. I didn't learn forgiveness till I forgave myself. And I
Mm,
really, anybody out there, I'm going to tell you right now, when you can forgive yourself for all your perceived wrongs, for what you
mhm,
see, like you believe you did, I believed I was a waste of space. I grew up literally, I can't even remember my formative years, young years, but as long as I can remember, waste of space, I was a bad person. And as a result, I made really poor choices. I stole, I lied about being raped at like 8, or I don't even know, because I wanted attention. And then when I really was raped, I was like, "Oh my god, I deserve this. I brought this on."
mm,
Um, it was not until I was able to forgive myself for every seeming infraction towards
mhm,
myself and or anybody else, my children, my ex-husband, my parents, my whatever, that I was able to forgive everybody else. Because once you get to that level of self-acceptance, right?
mhm.
You understand that you never make a decision or a choice with
Right.
all of the information you have now. I didn't make the choice to lie about being raped at 10 because I knew that I lacked attention. I had nobody nurture
Mhm.
me, and somebody in the school was teaching about it, and I saw all this attention, and so I
Right.
latched on to the thing my soul needed. I didn't make that choice thoughtfully. It was where I
Right.
was at in that point. And so I can then recognize the people who have wounded me, they didn't sit here and write out a checklist of how they were going to hurt me, right?
Right.
They're operating from what they understood in that moment,
Yeah.
right? And then it's just very difficult. Like I could never, um, I don't know that there's a angry bone in my body towards anybody. But I had to forgive myself, Michelle.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing that I know from a deep well of knowledge. It's not from my brain, it's from my intuition, that I
Yeah.
think everybody needs to hear.
And I stumbled upon on the journey, right, in finding myself and understanding all of this and forgiving. um Especially we've talked about addiction. We had a show about it. There's addiction throughout my family, and I never thought that anybody that was like, I did not need them to come to me and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry for all those times." And again, for those that it works for, that's great. I did not need to hear that from somebody. They're healing. I want them to heal themselves. They don't need to heal because I'm giving them permission or forgiveness. They need to forgive themselves and they need to take action to help themselves. That is all and I say that from a place of love. And so when I was able to look at that, and then I stumbled upon the Ho'oponopono prayer, which I love. And in the beginning, it pissed me off. I was like, I love you. I'm sorry. What am I sorry for? I didn't do any right, because that's our first reaction. But it's not I'm sorry to anybody except I'm sorry I'm not in love. I'm sorry I'm not coming at this from love. I'm sorry that I'm just not being who I'm meant to be, and having that feeling come out of me, that love, and sharing that, and I'm forgiving myself and others, the environment, the world, what have you. And it's just an all overarching little song. And I actually was listening to it all morning. And that's what helped me finally be able to forgive myself for this journey, for where I am today. And I'm not done. I'm not done.
No.
Hell no, we're never done.
Well, I think that lends to that's what stripped down healing from the illusion really eventually helps people get to is if it's not love, it's not real. And it sounds so wooey and so, new aged, whatever. But at the end of the day, whether you want to talk about
Mhm.
physics, right? If you look at purely from a scientific perspective, love operates from a higher vibration than fear,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And when you're stuck in the illusion, what are you operating from? Fear. Because you
Fear.
don't know yourself. So you're operating from these beliefs, these habits. And if you break one, holy crap, that incites tons of fear. So, right. So if we know that from a physics point of view, but then look at any of the theology standpoints, whether it's Buddha, Krishna, Paramanda Yogananda, Christ, right? If you
Mhm.
break down all of the narratives, all the man-made narratives about it, it talks about sin is error. The error is separation from love. That's it. Because
Yeah.
physics already proves we come from a conscious universe that stems from a vibration of love. And theology says the same thing. It's just ancient texts. And
Mhm.
so the illusion, what you're talking about, Michelle, is forgiveness, but really forgiving yourself and others for not showing up in love because
Yes.
they don't know how to. We don't know
Right.
how to. I don't even always know how to. I just know how to
Right.
get back to love more quickly.
Well, and that's when I first started after, the whole corporate thing, and I started coaching and enrolling, so selling basically. And I would talk to all of these clients, these amazing, wonderful, conversations. There was something that switched in me. It was like this, it was just a switch, and it just flipped. And I could hear them, even though we were just on the phone, I could hear their pure soul. I could
Yeah.
hear where they were coming from without the fear. I could hear what their soul was crying out for, their pure soul, the one without the limiting beliefs, the one without the bullshit that was all tied and pushed on top of them, all the shit that happened to them. I could hear who they truly wanted to be. And that's why we were able to have such great conversations. And so when I was able to tap into that, meaning I had to take care of myself first, because if my own stuff is floating in my head and in my heart, I can't hear clearly. So it's really important to take care of yourself so that you can hear the pure souls and hear what they really want, or what they're really saying, what someone is saying to you. And so that was huge for me too, because you look at people and you're like, oh, that's a bad person, they murdered somebody or whatever. They weren't born that way. What had to happen to them to make them that way? And not that we have to dive into the introspection of it and investigate it and get into it, but just realize that they have shit that they're carrying too. And
Yeah.
I was talking to a group session the other day, and I was like, just keep your flipping blinders on. Yes, the world right now is crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on. But the horses, they wear those little things, and they like block them when they're in a horse race. Why is that? Because they're not supposed to be looking at where the other horse is. And they're certainly not supposed to be turning around and seeing where the horses are behind them, because then they're going to fall over and they're going to kill themselves, or kill the jockey, but they're going to get hurt and they're going to be slower. So it's like, mind yourself. And when you mind
Yeah.
yourself and you get to know yourself and you heal yourself, as somebody, a very important mentor of mine, will tell you, when you heal yourself, you heal everyone around you as well. You have that opportunity, but you yourself, you have to start with yourself first.
Well, I don't show up in the work that I do. I work with people in active addiction and who struggle with severe mental health issues that can cripple them.
Mhm.
And I don't show up in the world until I work on myself every day. And that's because I want to show up through the lens of love and non judgment. And, for all of the religions and all of these people out there, the reality is there's so much judgment, and it's
Mhm.
not our place to judge. It's not my place to know what Michelle Barone's path is, or even, and this is going to be hard for some people to hear, but it's true, it's not my place to know what my daughter's path is. You know what my place is to love her, love them while they get curious, love them while
Yeah.
they fall flat on their face because they choose to date somebody who doesn't treat them kind, or fails to turn in a project because they didn't want to apply themselves.
Mhm.
My job's not to judge that
Right.
nor punish them for it. My job is to help them get curious about why it is they made that choice, and then to continue to love them, and they get to decide
Yeah.
who they are. And I think that when we can stop placing an expectation on any person on what they should be, how they should do something, what their
Mhm.
business should offer, then you inevitably show up in a place of love because you just see that person for who they are,
Right.
which is love
Yeah.
and an extension of
Yeah.
ourselves because we're all connected.
Well, and here's a big hint. If anyone is saying should about anybody or feeling disappointment in someone else, you're judging. If you're expecting something, "Oh, well, I thought I expected more for them." You're judging them. Don't expect. Just allow. Just allow people to be who they are, and they're either going to show up in your life in love or they're going to fall away because you're at a higher
Yeah.
frequency.
Well, also, here's the thing, when we have a reaction over somebody else, we're actually reacting to an internal
Mhm.
belief within ourselves, and that's just true. So if I'm rubbed the wrong way, right?
Mhm.
Um, I ask myself, what is it about this person that is reminding me of something that I need to look at and examine, because it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Because again, when you love yourself, you can love all of yourself, meaning your imperfections, meaning your moments of screaming and whatever. But you got to look at it to at
Yeah.
least know that. So if you're being, triggered by somebody else, you recognize it's not about them, it's about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that again, I mean, I think it just speaks to the continued every single moment when you have an emotional experience, ask yourself why.
Why?
Sometimes that experience is just because you're hungry, you're tired, you need to drink water, you didn't go for a walk, literally, right? But most of us don't ask ourselves why. So we're irritated. We don't ask ourselves, oh, did I eat today? So now we're
Mhm.
engaging with our kid. We're irritated. Our kid says something. Then we're like screaming at him when all I had to do in the first place was, why am I irritated? Oh, yeah, I didn't eat today. And it's like 3 o'clock, right? So,
Or is it even mine? How many times do you walk in a room and somebody is pissed off, you walk in happy, and they start walking around all grumpy, and just because of that, your vibration lowers. And then you're like, why am I grumpy? Why am I mad? I was in a good mood 5 minutes ago. Why did I allow myself to bring myself down? So, we could talk for
well,
hours.
that
You
goes
know
back
that.
to giving yourself permission
Right.
to walking away
Yeah.
and not always having to, like, just going into the room, feeling the vibe and being like, nope, I'm out. I'm in a good mood. I'm rolling out. So, well, this has been a gorgeous conversation.
We
I mean, I knew it's going to be amazing
we
anyway.
did,
So,
we did, we knew that. So every Wednesday, we will be here at 12 o'clock, and you can join us. You can ask more questions and more comments. Thank you, everybody, for that was commenting. Thank you all for being on our first episode. Looking forward to it. Kerri, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, guys, you can find me at KerriLewis.Coach. I do have a community. It's $22 a month because that's my oldest sister's birthday and she's my guardian angel.
Oh, sweet.
Um, you get four group sessions, and it's learning all tools about mental, physical, and energetic wellness. You are held accountable. I'm not that fluffy, soft coach, guys. I keep it real, but I do believe that real love is keeping it real. It's not being the person you think you want me to be to help you. And yeah, Facebook, KerriLewis.Coach, same as Instagram. And I don't even know what I am in LinkedIn because I have to get better there. What about you, gorgeous Michelle?
I am everywhere. Hashtag Moksha Grace. My website is mokshagrace.com. Moksha Grace Coaching. I have a community as well, Calm the Chaos on Facebook. You can hit me up over there. YouTube, LinkedIn, we're both on that. We're everywhere, so you can find us, and you can also comment in the comments like, how do I find me, or we'll find you. We will find you.
And if there's any topic that you guys want us to discuss,
Yes.
let us know, because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
you only become stripped down when you have information to start to look and question.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you don't know. So
Yeah.
please reach out, ask, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think that judgment thing in the kids, I think that one might be a really good conversation for when the next time it comes up.
Yeah,
Because we have
agreed.
no agenda on here. We have no plans. We just jump on and we talk about what's going on. So,
Yep.
Kerri, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait for next week. I can't wait well, we'll be talking in between. So,
Of course. Bye, guys. Thank